Hello everyone, welcome to Am's Life and Finance, where we love life and we love finance. Today we have the goody goodies. We're gonna talk about the good old four-wheelers, that in a box of metal. I don't know how you call them. They're literal cars or trucks. I don't know what your type is. Definitely here in Europe, you barely find any trucks. I mean, I have like in my periphery, I know two guys. One has a Nissan Navara and the other one has a Ford. I think it's the Raptor. At least it says Raptor. I'm not sure if it's an F-150. I have no clue because we over here drive the smaller cars, like the really small one. I have seen that America is making a shift towards smaller cars. At least that's something I think the new administration is going towards. I think it's a good thing. Because you guys spend way too much on cars. But don't worry, we have SUVs in Europe and people get a lot of that in for these little hunks of metal that I really don't understand it. I mean, I do understand the appeal of a car. I absolutely love cars and yeah, this is the story about how I switched cars without, ruining my finances like a lot of people do nowadays. It's really crazy how people just go into huge piles of debt because of something that, yeah, it may bring you some joy for a few minutes. Surely the Alcantara seats smell nice and having GPS on the car that just works, and I guess full self-driving if you're in certain areas of the planet. That must be nice. But you know what's nicer? Being able to say no to a job that you don't like, being able to cover a huge expense if it ever comes to that. I certainly hope not, but you know about this thing called Murphy's Law. If there's a slight chance that it will happen, it will definitely happen. So not to bring you bad luck or a bad ominous, I don't know, you call it omen, but you should be prepared. And if you are not prepared to take on a huge expense because you have a huge pile of debt because of a car, I mean, come on, what are you doing? Not judging clearly, but there's more important things out there than a car. But yeah, I want to talk about how I switched cars last year, and I want to give you first a backstory. I had a 2008 BMW 3 Series that I absolutely loved. It was like, people called it a bathtub. It's a bit of a larger car here around Europe. It definitely could carry everything that I wanted to going to camping, which is something that I cannot nowadays, but I mean, I still can. It's just some compromise had to be made, it's a part of life. I think it was a good one at the end of the day. But yeah, this car was like my pride and joy. It was passed down by my dad to me. He drove it for like 5 years or something. I think even a bit more, probably closer to 10 now that I think of it. Let me see. Yeah, he drove it for 5. He bought the car used with 2 years. That was basically his pride and joy until he started arguing that he had a bad back and needed the latest and greatest BMW SUV, which is fine, I guess. He's at the age that he can afford it. There's a space for everything. I just don't think that a 28-year-old like me should be walking around or riding around in a very expensive vehicle when I barely can afford to live. I mean, I can afford to live, but there's a better thing out there for me in the future for sure. I'd rather build my future today and maybe get to spend on something nicer tomorrow, but that's not going to be for now. For now, really the focus is on saving and investing, and that's why you'll see that I made I think a really smart choice with the car that I bought. But yeah, I had this car for 9 years in my hand. Down the line I had some motor issues. I basically had the engine rebuilt while I was still at college, so it was done by a shady mechanic. Why do all BMW stories involve a shady mechanic? I don't know, but yeah, it was something that I had to do. Although the car was paid for, and yeah, I did have that huge problem with the engine being revealed. It was basically hanging by a chain at some point, and like outside the car. It was really a sight to see. I've never seen a car like that in such a young car, but it was like a reality check that these hunks of metal can break down even though they're expensive as fudge. Yeah, it's just how it goes, You spend a lot of money in the car, and then next thing you know, you're stuck on the highway or something. So that's another sign that you should really think about when getting a car. But yeah, fast forward to last year, 2025, the car was giving me problems left and right for over like 2 or 3 years now, where I would have it in the mechanic for like 2 or 3 months at a time. And between that, luck has it, I have a motorcycle and I also live with my parents, so I can take their car like loanly and just put some gas on it, be nice and so on. And yeah, we get good deal on each side, but the car was like there for 2 to 3 months at a time, and that wasn't nice because I mean, I work from home. I have a remote job. Luckily, that's something that I really enjoy. But I need a car. Like, my girlfriend lives 45 minutes away from me, and we need to be together, of course. And yeah, car is just a part of the process. You may think that public transportation in Europe is incredible, and as a matter of fact, it kind of is. But it depends on the location you are. Like, if you are in the suburbs, don't expect to have the best. Like, if I wanted to go out with my girlfriend via public transportation, I would need a bus, then a train, then a layover on a train, and probably an Uber, because I don't think there's actual buses to where she lives. So it's not exactly sunshine and rainbows once you leave the city center. Just to give you a heads up on how public transportation really is. It doesn't win any awards, but if you are at the city center, it's like incredible. I have to admit that. And everywhere I went across Europe, I mean, other than some exceptions, maybe Croatia, I would say. But I was in Dubrovnik. It's like a sandbox. Doesn't count. But other than that, if you go to some other places, no, not Germany. Germany is going through an overhaul of their public transportation because the Deutsche Bahn is absolutely atrocious. But yeah, the rest is top notch. I mean, I went to Spain, good transportation in Madrid, in Barcelona, meh. Not as good, I'd say. But if you go to France, really good transportation. I mean, I went to Disneyland really easily, and it's quite a ride if you know. If you can put it into the map, like the Eiffel Tower versus Disneyland, and you'll see it's quite distant. But it's also really nice. But yeah, getting back to the car, because I just had a flashback. I don't know why I had to go on a huge yap about public transportation in Europe, but now it's done, so nothing I can do about that. I basically had huge problems with the car. Like, it weren't huge. I mean, I could still drive the car if I wanted to, but it was clear that it wasn't performing at its peak. I had a malfunction light, like the check engine light, the entire time sometimes. I had to disconnect some sensors from the motor, which could cause the engine to overheat and explode, and I was a bit lucky about that because, yeah, the shady mechanic once put the filter a bit wrongly, like a bit skewed, and the car would just do a strange noise while turning on, and that could actually have exploded the car. So when it becomes a hazard, you really start thinking. And then there was like this huge annoyance with the car where 1200 RPM, it would just do one hiccup that I wouldn't understand for the life of me why that happened. But turns out there was basically some wires connecting the wrong way around, which is not something you want to see. So eventually I got the car checked up by a specialist, and the verdict was like, look, you have a 270,000 kilometer car, which looks good on the outside, but could die any day of the week. It's a huge risk to keep it. These motors are known to cause issues. You're gonna have more expenses down the line because of just age. So, in my humble opinion, you should let it go. And I followed the advice because I'm not a specialist in vehicles. I do love driving. I really do. And that's why choosing a new car, or getting rid of a car knowing that I would probably have a downgrade was not easy for me. I mean, but at the end of the day, that's just ego. If the car gets you from A to B and is not a smart, I mean, those pieces of shit, if you know what a smart is, you probably know what I'm talking about. Like, that's absolutely atrocious of a car. But if you get a decent car, good mileage, good gas, runs well, not too expensive to maintain. Of course, I have that BMW gene in me, so, I'm kind of vaccinated towards getting something fixed for expensive and atrocious prices. But yeah, I basically got the car into the best shape I could reasonably get to. Of course, it's a used car, so don't expect everything to be incredibly perfect. I mean, I had some like rubber getting melty in the summer in like the rear passenger. It wasn't the seats, like on the sides, on the door handles. Yeah, the door handles were just melting in the summer, but that's a defect from the car itself. Next owner could take care of that, But things like that affect the stability of the car, safety, don't ever sell a car with those kinds of problems. Like, it's really dumb, it could get people at risk. That's just not worth it. So it's best to always get the car to a decent shape, and then I spent like almost 2K on it to get it into that decent shape, so it wasn't nice. It did hurt my finances a little bit. I was like, that hurts for a car that I'm going to sell, but it's better to be safe than sorry. I don't want the next owner to call me saying, oh, your car broke down, I just bought it from you, you piece of shit. The guy didn't call back. I mean, he called back because we filled the documents wrong when passing the car on, but other than that, everything was fine. So I think he's having a good time with the car. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. But yeah, now I needed a new car because I didn't actually I didn't actually sell the car right away. So I sold the car after I bought a new one, but I made sure that I had enough leeway to do that. That's the thing. Once you have that emergency fund built up and have some extra leeway, you can buy a car, you can get a new car before you sell the old one in the garage. You breathe better in general. So that's something I would not ever take for granted. I've taken that for granted in the past, and I absolutely regret it to this day. It's good that sometimes people make mistakes, because if you make a mistake, then in the future you'll be aware of it and you'll be making better decisions. Of course, the best way to make a mistake is to never do it, is to never make the mistake, but sometimes you just gotta do it, and you'll eventually fall on your own sword, and that's just a part of life. Don't beat yourself up about it too, because it's a part of life. Failing is a part of life. You lay the first brick if you haven't failed ever. But yeah, I checked my budget. I could fork around 15K for a car. It's nothing incredible, but it's already a respectable number. I mean, you could definitely buy a car. I could have bought a car like the one I had, just with maybe some more mileage, but I started to think maybe I don't need such a nicer car right now. Maybe I can make do with a smaller one and for a few years, and let's see if in the future maybe I need a bigger car. Let's see. But right now I thought 15K, I could go into those smaller cars and not get like a nice sedan like I had. It's a part of life. I was okay with the downgrade at the end of the day. I'm still a young guy. I mean, it's still just me and sometimes my girlfriend, so I don't have kids. I hope I get kids someday, but not yet. And even if I have kids, I think the car would definitely suffice. It's not worth it getting something more than what you need sometimes, especially if you're young and you have all this opportunity for compound interest to kick in, in the future. And also you're building your wealth in different ways, and you can, there's just better ways to spend money than a huge hunk of metal. Even though I love cars. Sorry, that's just how it goes. Basically, I could get a decent car, low mileage, wouldn't get me into trouble anytime soon, and I could also sell the other car, and I sold it, of course. I didn't want two cars, that's definitely even worse. But it got me around 5K at the end of the day, which was not bad. I mean, if you take out the fixes that I had to make to it, probably it was like 3K at the end, and also these values are in euros. But yeah, I basically got one series from 2015, end of 2015, with 100,000 kilometers, diesel car. Not the most incredible car on the planet. It's definitely worse on the highway, like it doesn't have that comfort, like you're driving in the rain, you definitely feel it, but it gets me to the same places, and it also didn't break the bank too much. So at the end of the day, I really like the choice that I made. And at the same time, I had like a cousin who was getting a brand spanking new BMW iX1 for around 50K plus, all decked out, like M kit, like the red brakes, everything. It gets the looks. I sleep better at night, to be honest, I think. Not having that is like, oh my god, it's so incredible. But yeah, I'd take that over any day of the week. I don't think I've made the bad choice, because sleeping better at night, no, you don't have that for a car, just because you get some like maybe some dudes saying, and you think, oh, I'm gonna attract the girls. No, you're not. You're gonna attract like middle-aged dudes and old dudes being like, oh, you got a car, that's so nice. I mean, you are paying for that, just to let you know. But yeah, then I also had some colleagues who were getting new cars, and they definitely overspent, but they definitely got into credit, but that's their life. But nothing is worse than the sheer stupidity of getting into that for a motorcycle. God damn. I mean, I'm a motorcycle guy, and I just cringe about it. Like, for the love of God, don't do it. It's crazy. I'll speak about my motorcycle one day. It was definitely the worst purchase I ever did. Not because the motorcycle is bad or anything, but because of the circumstances around it. I definitely made some bad choices in the past that I'm not proud of, but I still have it to this day. It's like I wouldn't say walk of shame, like the prize of shame, maybe. But I made it through, and I've learned a few lessons, and I'll share them with you someday in a future video. For now, all I want to say is keep having a good year, keep doing what you're doing, enjoying life, I hope, being, I don't know, frugal if you are, or just making expenses if you can. Don't live way above your means. I think that's the moral of the story here today. And yeah, I'd love to hear in the comments if you have a worst purchase, or if your car was your worst purchase. Just just bring it on into the comments. Let's have a nice discussion. That's what this channel is about, having good discussions in the comments, having a new perspective or a different perspective. I love to hear your take. Do you think I've made a good choice, a bad choice? Please, let's argue and let's see how that goes. As always, have a good one, and I'll see you next time.